The scholarship is an annual scholarship awarded to the applicant who produces the most outstanding research paper on a topic relating to equality, diversity, and the legal profession or law. Tonight's keynote address will be delivered by the Honourable Anne Ferguson, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Victoria.
Serving the community is not limited to what happens on the bench. What happens at the bar table and in the broader profession is also critically important. Tonight we are honouring the legacy of someone renowned for their skills in that space, William Ah Ket. In 1902, he won the Supreme Court Judges Prize for Article Clerks. He served his articles at Madoc and Jamieson, now Maddox. He signed the Victorian Bar roll in 1904 and is believed to be the first barrister of Chinese descent to practice in Victoria and possibly Australia. Former Australian Prime Minister Sir Robert Menzies once wrote of Mr Ah Ket, "William Ah Ket did not ever sit on the bench, though he would have been a very competent judge. He was a sound lawyer and a good advocate." I would like to briefly reflect on those words. What does it mean to be a sound lawyer and a good advocate? First of all, technical ability is important. We know that Mr Ah Ket was widely respected at the Victorian Bar for his technical ability as a barrister. He appeared in the High Court of Australia on a number of occasions, successfully challenging the application of the Immigration Restriction Act, also known as the White Australia Policy, as well as the so-called Victorian Factory Acts, which imposed restrictions on Chinese factory workers. But to be a sound lawyer and good advocate requires more than technical ability. It requires perseverance and the ability to bounce back from setbacks. For Mr Ah Ket to achieve what he did at the bar in the early 20th century was no easy feat. He excelled in the law during a renewed wave of discrimination against people of Chinese descent in Australia. That discrimination was enshrined in legislation and prevalent in community attitudes at the time. To achieve what he did in a conservative profession and during such an era would have required significant skill and a good measure of resilience and perseverance. I believe we can learn a lot from those attributes. Mr Ah Ket's legacy shows a solicitor or barrister should focus on being the best lawyer they can be. While the discrimination Mr Ah Ket faced in the 1900s has thankfully improved, structural barriers still exist, both in society and within the legal profession. Ideally, the composition of the judiciary, the legal profession, and other organisations would reflect the gender, cultural, and ethnic diversity of Australian society. There is a long way to go in this regard. We are slowly making progress, however. Welcoming different perspectives and seeking input from different voices from a range of backgrounds can lead to better outcomes.
I think it's important to recognise that Ah Ket was not only the first Asian Australian barrister, but can also be counted as one of Australia's earliest human rights lawyers, who successfully advocated in the High Court for the right of James Minahan, a man of Chinese and English heritage, to return to his place of birth after years growing up in China and suffering the ignominy of failing the infamous dictation test upon his return. Unless we think that case is of historical relevance only, one need only look at the recent decision in Love and Toms against the Commonwealth of Australia, where the High Court reaffirmed the principles from Potter and Minahan in holding that our First Nations people cannot be aliens subject to deportation, despite holding foreign citizenship.
I would now like to invite Professor Sarah Biddulph to say a few words on behalf of the University of Melbourne.
The university is proud to count William Ah Ket as one of its most famous alumni. William graduated in law from the University of Melbourne in 1897. For those of you who would like to learn more, I would recommend that you visit the website of the Asian Australian Lawyers Association and also the public gallery in Owen Dixon Chambers West, where a William Ah Ket display has been installed and where his portrait will be unveiled later this year.
We are grateful for the ongoing support of our inaugural sponsor, Medics, for their generous financial contribution to the scholarship. The winner this year will receive $6,000, and the two runners-up will each receive $1,000. On behalf of the Asian Australian Lawyers Association and the William Ah Ket Scholarship Committee, I'm pleased and honored to formally launch the 2021 William Ah Ket Scholarship.
And finally, I want to thank all of you for attending despite the changed format and for your interest in this program.